people, see if they could become something more, see if they could work together when we needed them to fight the battles that we never could. Phil Coulson died still believing in that idea, in hero. Well, it's an old-fashioned notion. There was an idea called the Avengers Initiative. The idea was to bring together a group of remarkable people, see if they could become something more, see if they could work together when we needed them to fight the battles that we never could. Phil Coulson died still believing in that idea, in hero. Well, it's an old-fashioned notion.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you guys for joining us on this beautiful Tuesday evening. You're here with Fred, myself, and with Jayare from Zobie Productions. Thank you, Jayare, for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So appreciate your time, man. Definitely excited for this. We got spooky. What the hell? So that's coming from your page, yeah. So for some of the people that are not familiar, we do have Zobie Productions here. We're gonna just talk a little bit about entrepreneurship, my personal favorite, collecting. I mean, all that good stuff.
Right here.
Yeah, actually, that's shout out to Brett. That's Leatherface.
Oh, okay. I'll say probably because it shows you the usernames and I can't see that, but it's all good.
Yeah, it
we'll
shows
call them
us
out.
Facebook user, so we don't. This is what it shows us. So it just says Facebook users.
Yeah, no, that's Brett. He played Leatherface in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Wow,
nice.
Yeah. So shout out to Brett.
Nice. That's what I wish I had friends like that.
That's the person I got. Some guy that walks out here in the parking lot. That's the person I got watching this right now.
What's it called? That's good. So, again, Jared, we appreciate you joining us, man. So just a little introduction about yourself, man. I mean, we'll obviously go through the rest of the night with other different topics, but just the open forum, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So my name is Jayare Gallegos. I know that sometimes that gets confused a lot on social media. It's Jayare, Jerry, but it's literally just the two letters JR. I just spell it differently. I've done that since I was like 8 years old. Originally from McAllen, Texas, went to Mac High, graduated in 2004.
Ooh, Bulldogs! Whoop whoop.
So I, lived in multiple places in the U.S., but reside in Houston, Texas right now. I started Zobie Productions. Man, I forget what year I even started, but I know full time was 2019. And Zobie stands for Zoe and Kobe, which is my two daughters. Zoe is 12 years old. Kobe's 8 years old. And we are a autograph company. We've changed so much over the years that I feel weird saying just autograph company, because at this point we fucking sell everything, from mugs. Yeah, you collect it, we most likely have it in SKU, right? And I guess that's what we've transformed to nowadays.
Nice. That's awesome. So, fun story, guys. So before we came on here, I was doing my market research with JR, and I was saying that they just had a recent drop. I know you guys just added a collection on your website. An Ed Sheeran signed CD. Fred, you know how I feel about Ed Sheeran, bro. That's my ring.
All the time we will drive all the way to Houston or somewhere from doing conventions. You'll be singing in the car, man.
Yeah, bro, 100%. Like, it's good music, whatever, man.
You shouldn't be singing, but you'll be singing in the car.
Yeah, I mean, that's the size.
You ain't no insurance, so the closer you're gonna get to the autograph, that's the closer you're gonna get from being him.
100%. I'm never gonna meet the guy, but man, and I was telling Jared before this, everybody, I was like, man, damn, if I had never, aligned it correctly with Jared, I probably would have never gotten it. But it was a good deal. Absolutely. The shipping was fast. Like I was telling Jared, I was like, man, I was like, damn, shipping, damn, it was amazing. So
last night you got a shipping confirmation this morning.
Yeah, I remember telling Fred, bro, I did a thing. Screenshot.
Yeah, no, I love Ed Sheeran too. So I'd love to hear you do karaoke one day of Ed Sheeran, but I love the music stuff. It reminds me of when I started, actual autograph collecting. Which was in McAllen, and but music's always been a passion of mine. I listen to music all day long, and it depending on the mood, I go from Ghost to Ed Sheeran to Selena to Mana, you name it, I listen to it. It's good.
They're like, your playlist is crazy. That shuffle will go everywhere.
Yeah, no, seriously. Like, Adam makes fun of me sometimes. He's like, "What are you listening to now?" It's like it's always some random stuff because people send me a lot of links to like new bands, and then I just follow that rabbit hole.
Mhm. I get you. So, funny story, man. So, we kind of, the way we usually start off the podcast, man, we want to break the ice, get the conversation going. So we kind of just talk about what got us into collecting. Everyone's heard my story and Fred's story. So, we'll give you some time to kind of see how you want to tell that story. I started off, and I know you're from McAllen. Are you familiar with that Nickelodeon arcade in Far back when the Central Mall was there?
I remember. Yeah, I remember. It's right when you enter to your left, right?
Yeah, so right when you enter to your left. So my dad was a security guard there for years, man, like years, years, years. And he would like take me, and I didn't have to pay nothing. It was like a kid's dream, bro.
Yeah,
It's a whole
And
ass arcade for yourself.
yeah, bro, yeah, you have the arcade to yourself. Like, yeah, there were fights and stuff, but I didn't pay attention. I was like 10 years old, bro. I don't care. Like, there's
Yeah.
gang
Playing
fights in
Mortal
the movie.
Kombat and Killer Instinct.
Yeah, bro, they're like gang fight. I'm playing Street Fighter. Like, oh shit, like that guy's in the ass kicked, like whatever. But basically, the prize guy would give my dad like Pokemon cards, because Pokemon was hot back then.
Mhm.
And my little, I didn't grow up with a whole lot of stuff, right? You always hear the same thing from everybody, right? We didn't have a lot, right? I never like to say we never had a lot. Just say, we had enough, right? We had enough to get by.
Absolutely.
And then, me having that hustle, I was like, I'm gonna flip this card. So I would sell Pokemon cards $20, $15, $10, and then just acquire to get like a Game Boy and stuff. That was my hustle.
Yeah.
That what got me into the collectible world. And Fred, what got you into that?
I did a little bit of everything. I would start collecting Hot Wheels. I went from Hot Wheels to Marvel Legends, and then I started seeing back in like 2012 a lot of people get Funkos. So like my first Funko Pop that I got was the armored Batman from I think it was Batman vs Superman series. So I got that pop first, and then I've been hooked since, man. I have everything from, I got autographs. Yesterday I picked up a Johnny Depp signed Captain Sparrow. So I have that one that I added to my collection, and it went crazy from there, man. You start collecting one thing, and next thing you know, you have 50 different genres of everything that you collect.
Absolutely. Yeah, no. So I basically got started when I was probably 11, 12 years old. I started going to trading card shows that were done there in McAllen with my uncle Rick. He really got me into just trading cards. We used to go to trade night on Wednesdays, and I would trade for different Atlanta Braves, Dallas Cowboy cards. I was born and raised a Cowboy fan, right? And so that's what got me into collecting. And then I started trying to attend the Verial Center there right off the expressway. They used to hold a lot of concerts there. It's the Harley Davidson building now, but a lot of bands would go there, and I would just go right before sound check and try to meet the bands and get their autographs and ask questions. And I ended up becoming really close friends with just like everybody who worked there, just like literally from the people who would work selling alcohol to popcorn to the backstage helpers. So that I ended up actually helping too. I ended up helping. That led me to help set up like in Hidalgo, the arena there. Like I would help set up like the Kiss setup whenever they came into town. Like multiple bands, I would help set up all their rigs as well. And it was like contract work. But the cool thing is they would just let me watch the show from backstage. And then I would try to get my photo in or autograph from one of the bands. And so that's really what started like my obsession with collecting in general. And then once, I got into my 20s, I started getting back into it after college, basically. I remember I was building my first home. I think I was 27 years old, and I really wanted to start like my man cave again, and so I started collecting a lot. And that was around the time I became a season ticket holder for the Dallas Cowboys. And so I would try to go before the game since I was already going to be over there and try to meet the players. And so I would get autographs and then put them on my wall. And that's literally how I started, I guess, the early workings of Zobie.
Nice. So when you were doing the Dodge Arena and so forth, what was like that one band you met where you just got like overhyped, bro? You're like, man, I can't believe it happened. Like it was just like so awesome. Like what was that one band that stood out?
So I was really big into new metal. So like 98, 99. So at that point I was 12, 13 years old, and new metal phase was like going crazy. Like back when MTV would play music videos at night, they would play Slipknot and Mudvayne and all these bands, Papa Roach and Limp Bizkit, Korn. So I remember the first time I was going to see Mudvayne in person. That was a really big deal for me because Ryan, the bass player, was like a huge influence in the way I played bass. And I had saved all my money to get a bass guitar and an amp, and so meeting him was like a big deal for me. That was like a moment I'll probably never forget.
Nice, awesome.
Yeah.
We got some people here saying that they started with Digimon. We have Facebook user on our end. Started collecting few figures. Parents told me they keep them in the package, but it was a no for me. Oh man, the instant regret. We got Limp Biscuit.
Yeah, man. I actually saw Limp Bizkit like 2019. Machine Gun Kelly opened up for them. I didn't know who he was, but I remember he came out and like he put on a really good show, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like he's actually pretty decent. Again, not knowing who he was, and then I saw Fred and Limp Bizkit come out, and I was like, wow, like they still sounded great. Like it's kind of nostalgia, I guess, in a way, for me, because like I saw them for the first time in 2000, I believe. So it's like 23. So at that point, it was 19 years later, and it's kind of like, it's kind of crazy. Like life goes so like quick. Like it just, it was like, it felt like it was just yesterday,
No, that's crazy. So that's awesome, man. I had no idea you were a Bulldog, that you graduated in 2014. I know you had said you were from Mackay, but so you graduated 2014?
2004.
Oh, 2004. Okay,
Yeah.
2004. Okay. I was about to be like, man, I was like, you're younger than me. I graduated 09. I was the 100th graduating class, people remember that one, man. No, I'm just messing with you. But,
I don't remember anybody from high school.
do you talk to anybody from high school? You don't have to lie, bro. Do you talk to anybody from high school?
No, I don't. I legit don't. I'm really, really bad. So like I will say this, full disclaimer. The only reason I have social media is because of Zobie. I don't get on social media. I don't follow any page. I don't keep up with anybody from that. Like I have my circle. I'm like I fuck with, but I don't know anybody from high school now. They're not on my friends list. Right? It's like the past, man. Like that's like I don't know. I'm really weird with that stuff. So yeah, I have not seen anybody from high school since I left that place.
Nah, that's crazy, man. Yeah. Do you have like a misconnection, or you're like, I would have connected to him a long time ago if I wanted like an old friend or anything like that used to go with you to the concerts or anything, or no?
No, not really. No. It's kind of crazy, man. Like I don't know. Like I feel like I felt like when I was going to high school, I just wanted to fucking finish because I felt like I was going to do something after that, and it was just like something I had to do. It kind of sounds kind of crazy, but I was like, "Fuck this place, I'm out of here." I've always
out the valley. Fuck the valley, just go.
Like, that aspect, like I love the valley. I actually go back now for real estate stuff, but or Comic Cons, but I just school in general, like I wasn't an A student. I was just like the guy that just did barely enough to get my diploma. And I was just like, at the time I was like, fuck this. Because when I was a sophomore, I was already working 40 hours a week. So going to school for me was like, I had to do it just because nobody in my family, all my family had even gotten a diploma, yet alone any type of college degree. So for me, school wasn't the priority for me. I was already working 40 hours. I was already paying rent. I was helping pay all the bills. My brother, my sister relied on me to get to school, especially my junior and senior year. So school was more like, I guess, trauma for me more than anything. I didn't, school was just something I had to do, like it's the typical Mexicano life in the valley, right? As soon as you're in work, you work to help pay bills.
Yeah.
And so school was like, I showed up when I needed to. I did just enough to finish my diploma, and that was it. Like later, I had no friends. Like I couldn't tell you one person's name.
I get you. And that's what I was asking. I was like, were you like a top 10% guy? Were you were you on all the yearbook pages, bro? Were you just like, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me?
Find the yearbook. I maybe one yearbook my whole high school. I see when in high school, I was probably a CD student. I guess back then it was like 60 to 69 was technically a D.
Yeah.
Now it's different. You have to have a 70 and above to pass. But when I went to college, that's where I was A student, and all the way to my master's degree. But that's because like I chose to be there. Whereas in high school, I felt like I just need to do this.
Yeah.
And when I went to get my bachelor's degree and master's, I was paying for that shit, so I wasn't gonna fuck it up. You know what I mean? Like, I in my pocket, so
it's my money. I know, hell no.
Like that, I was paying.
That's awesome. So we got I love Rob Zombie, Scene Cornin, Disturbed.
Hell yeah, Disturbed's awesome.
We also got a Shiny Sick Puppy Theory, Dead Man. We got We Love You, Jr. We got What's Up, David? That's me. I'm just kidding. That's Monica, and then we got mine was trading cards. Got me first into Emmett Smith autos. Starting to watch more horror movies. Very first signed autograph from Halloween Nick Castle when my friends had me go to the con when I was hooked.
There
So
you go. There you go.
I'm a big Michael Myers fan.
Is there like a collectible card? I know you say you started with like sports cards. Is there one that you regret not keeping or selling or?
So I collected players.
Yeah.
I was a big collector of Troy Aikman because he's always been like my quarterback. And I collected a lot of Chipper Jones from the Atlanta Braves. So I don't know if you guys remember this, but back in the day in the Valley, if you didn't have cable, you could still get like certain channels. So,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
you could watch like the Cubs on the WDN, or you could watch Atlanta Braves in the TBS, right? And so I grew up watching a lot of Chipper Jones. So I was a Braves fan, I guess, in a way. So I did collect a lot of Chipper Jones and Troy Aikman cards.
nice.
Okay, okay.
So starting off with music, so kind of like that got you into collecting. So, I know we kind of talked about it prior to this, but so what kind of made you go into Zoe? Because obviously you didn't just scale everything, right? Like, what made you? We talked about how you started with the name, but what kind of made you say like, hey, you know what, I'm gonna sell this on the side while I'm doing this, or how did that come about?
Yeah, so I was doing cybersecurity. I had moved from McAllen to Las Vegas. I was heavily recruited from a company. So I actually drove my Dodge Neon from McAllen to Las Vegas.
Nice.
And I finished my master's degree while in Las Vegas from a school in Utah. And I got an opportunity to either move to Washington, D.C. To work directly there for the government, or I could be stationed in Dallas because there's like huge government presence there. And I was not fucking giving all my money to DC to live there. So I chose Dallas. And while in Dallas, I started building my first home with my wife. And I started, collecting more, especially a lot of Dallas Cowboy players, and just kind of building that whole room up. And a lot of the people that were in the SOC with me, the Security Operations Center, they knew I'd like going to Comic Cons, and they would always give me like $30, $40, and be like, hey, can you give me this person's autograph on 8x10? So I looked at it as an opportunity to fucking make money, like I looked at
Nice.
it like, man, these guys are having me wait in line for them. And back then the Comic Cons didn't have long lines like that. So while working my cybersecurity job, I started traveling on the weekends to Comic Cons, and I would just get autographs for my coworkers. And then social media was really taking off in the industry. And my wife was like, "You should do this for everybody else, though." Like, and I was like, "No, I don't want to be in front of a camera. Like, I'm very insecure about that. Like once you go live, it's out there. And me being a cybersecurity guy, that's why I don't get on social media or like in general, like webcams and all that. Like, I can hack a webcam like that if I wanted to. So it's like it was kind of always kind of scary putting yourself that vulnerable in front of a camera. And but I did, and my wife really she was literally in every video in the beginning. I'd be talking, and my wife was like right off the camera, right there, trying to just give me encouragement. And
Nice.
so we started the website. It took me 6 months to make one sale on the website, and I called the person when they made the order, just to verify that they weren't like they were real, because I didn't. I still remember they bought like an 8x10 of Russell Wilson. And I called them just to verify, like, hey, is this you?
You sure you want this?
Yeah. And, I didn't even have fucking supplies. That's how much of a noob I was. I went to the Walgreens. I bought like bubble wrap, and I was just so stupid. I didn't know what I was doing. And so that happened, and that gave me encouragement. It took 4 months later to like make another sale on the website. Mm-hmm. Back then, it was ZobieProductions.com. I started researching marketing. I wasn't a marketing major, but I was very tech savvy with obviously the cybersecurity stuff. And so when I would get home from work, I would just start working on website design, learning SEO. I probably read like 5 or 6 marketing books. And the big thing back then was starting communities. And I said, I can do that. Like, why can't I do that? I mean, that makes sense. And so I opened up the Zobie Collectors community. And during that time, that as I was going to Comic Cons, I was making a lot of contacts with promoters and agents as well. And so I basically had these large companies, like large memorabilia companies, who started to take notice of what I was doing. So they would just basically email me and they'd be like, "Hey, I need 100 autographs from this one celebrity. Like, can you set that up?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" So then I would get my 20 items that I would start off with, and I would do a signing, and that's how I started as a wholesale company, basically. I was just wholesaling to a bunch of companies, and it was weird because, like, I remember I would go some to a mall or something. I would see the stuff I was getting, but I was getting it for all these other companies. I was getting autographs for like different mystery box companies and these huge multi-million dollar companies, and I was like, why can't I grow something like that?
Yeah.
And that's how I pivoted into. I changed the domain to Shop Zobie, redesigned everything again, learning from books that I was reading at night, and here we are.
That's awesome. We got Danny in the comments saying LJR.
Yeah. What's up, Danny? How you doing? He's my favorite promoter in South Texas.
Right. Yeah, no, Danny's a good guy, man. I learned a lot with this guy. I'll call him every now and then, just kind of shoot the shit too.
I love Danny. Danny is like is one of the most realist people in the industry, and he's a fellow McAllen guy, and I've always had a lot of respect for him because, like, even back when I first started, like, he would always like support, and I'd always support him. So he's one of my favorite people from down there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you started off with that, you decided like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna flip the script. I'm gonna do it this way. So, a lot of times, like for us, for example, our business kind of platform is more like the exclusives, right? The Hot Topic, the Chase, that's kind of the market that we found to separate ourselves, because obviously, you can buy a common pop at Walmart for $8.99, or you can buy a common pop, or you can buy a common pop at a mom and pop shop for $12.99, because obviously you're gonna have to pay more for everything, right?
Mm.
So kind of what got you into like the signatures? Like why signatures, why autographs? Why was that kind of like your itch?
So you got to go back to like 2014 through 2018. I don't even think there was a single company right now that's still open that was doing that. It was very new. People were starting to get Funko signed, but it was like still trying to figure out. Like, a lot of the early adopters of Funko Pops were done in Sharpie. Paint pens then started becoming a thing. Like, and when you went through that phase in 2017, 2018, trying to figure out what marker worked best on plastic, and just research in general, because a lot of people don't think marker or plastic are supposed to mix really well. So I really started going into signatures just because I developed such deep rooted relationships with agents and the talent, to be honest with you. They would see me every weekend, to the point where I would be eating at the downstairs restaurant, and the celebrity would be like, "Hey, why don't you sit at my table? I see you every weekend." We just became friends, like, with multiple celebrities and their representation, and they knew that I wasn't like a creepy guy or anything. I was just kind of like, I was fascinated about the industry. I was fascinated about how somebody can book talent, book a convention in a city, market it, get people who are also fans to come to the event, open their wallets, shop the vendors, give the money to the talent. Like, it just, that whole business side fascinated me. And I just got so deep into that, like so deep into it. And I knew that me traveling and getting signatures, like, it was easy for me, but there's people who live in rural areas or maybe overseas who couldn't attend Comic Cons as much as I was. And so I was like, well, this is an opportunity to give them a service and do it the way I feel morally should be done. And that's what happened.
Nice, very nice. So getting all the signatures, getting everything going, what was that step of wanting to like open up, your warehouse, your shop, your, start hiring, employees and stuff? What was that pivotal moment when you're like, hey, you know what, I'm doing so good, I need to invest in, bringing the right people on and so forth? What was that turning point for you?
Well, as entrepreneurs, you never feel like you're doing good.
That's true.
I don't
Absolutely.
feel like I'm doing good now. I honestly, fucking just being totally transparent. My wife fucking told me I need to get the shit out of the house. we had 2,400 square feet. I was utilizing probably 2,000 square feet, from getting fined from my HOA because like 18-wheelers were dropping off pallets in my driveway and I had no room for it in the garage, to the hallway. Like, anybody, You can ask some of the early JSA guys. Like this is how stupid I was. Like I literally would pick up the phone and start calling JSA, and I would be like, "Hey, I'm a business," and I would talk it up like, "Oh yeah, like I'm Jayare from Zobie like Productions, and we do blah 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 blah. Like I need somebody to like." I need to get all this stuff authenticated. How can I do this? And they're like, oh, yeah. So what's your business address? And I'm like, well, it's not a business address. It's actually a house. And they're like, they literally hang up, you know, like I would try to like get JSA to come to my house to authenticate stuff. And they would walk in and there'd be just boxes in the hallway. Like you couldn't even walk through it. And they would kind of look at me kind of weird. And it got to the point where like they understood like what I was trying to accomplish too. And so my wife told me I had to just move the stuff. And my first warehouse was 975 square feet, McKinney, Texas. I got a great deal. I think they charged me like $1,000 a month. And I remember I didn't even have the money for the first month and the like security deposit. And then they wanted the last month. So they wanted like 3Gs. I was like, what the fuck am I going to do to get 3Gs? Because like, I mean, if you're an entrepreneur in this industry, cash flow is like the hardest thing you can accomplish, right? Because you have to buy a bunch of inventory and then you have to have hopefully pre-orders to sell it. And then that little margin that you have, which after taxes is 15 to 20% sometimes, that has to be like multiplied so you can save the money so you can do something like that, you know? And I did a Zobie XL box, which is something we actually still do. And it's basically was, I'm laughing because it's so stupid. I did 3 autographs for $125. And I was fucking putting like Robert England in these boxes and shit, like shit that now is like stupid price, like you $400 on eBay and shit. And I was doing it for like 125, but I did it because I needed the $3,000 to get my first warehouse. And I looked at it as like it's gonna be 150 autographs, but like I will be able to pay 6 months plus my security deposit if I sell all these fucking boxes. And that's literally what I did. I did my XL. I think I grossed like $5,000 or $6,000. I gave it all to the landlord just so they can take me seriously. And I paid like a bunch of months in advance. And then I moved in. I was scared of that bill every month. So I would prepay a lot of stuff when I first started the company months in advance. Like at one point I paid my whole rent for a whole year, literally just because I was scared that if business dipped in 1 month, I wouldn't be able to pay the lease, you know? And, I still operate like that. Actually, I don't know. I guess it's one of those things that always stresses me out.
Hey man, I would say you're invested in yourself. You know, you got to believe it, right?
Yeah, it's true. You got to go all in. Like that's the number one advice I always give to entrepreneurs is like, only you are going to believe in yourself as much as you want to take it is how far you're going to take it if you believe in yourself. And it's going all in, like it really is, because that's what I did. I didn't make, I think the first 3 years of Zobie, I made like $14,000. That's what I paid myself. So you divide that by 3 years, that's what I made. That was my salary. My sugar mama, my wife, was paying all the bills. Straight up. No, I'm not even gonna lie. Like that, just to like how bad I had to sacrifice. Like the first 3 years, my wife was paying all the bills when I went full time on Zobie, and I didn't have an employee until 2020. My first employee was 2020, and it was Adam. Right now we have 6 employees, full-time employees. But yeah, my first employee was 2020, and that was the middle of the pandemic, and we moved the company to Houston, Texas.
Nice. So, you know, I've been reading a lot of, you know, books, a lot of the YouTube and stuff. You know, as entrepreneurs, you know, whether, you know, in the scale that you've done or even smaller, you know, they say you never really want to keep money in the bank, right? You want to keep that money moving. You know, what's your opinion on that? Like, do you just want to constantly invest? Do you want to be smart and tactical, save 10%, 50%? What do you think about that?
Yeah. So in the beginning, I had to rely on PayPal capital loans. I used that a lot for cash flow, especially when I didn't have employees. So like if I was going to invest, you know, $5,000-$6,000 on signings or a Comic-Con, I would use that and then rely on what I was doing and selling the items and paying that back. I am in a position now where I invest a lot of my money into different things, like either helping run Comic-Con events, or like today I got approval for investment home. So like I'm looking at Texas and some parts of Houston to buy like a duplex. So I invest everything I make. I don't have a lot of money in my personal account because I don't believe in that. Like I have a lot of assets, And the business, you're either very cash flow or you have a lot of inventory and you're cash strapped, and that's just the way the industry works. I try to play right in the middle, but honestly, I'm a really big risk taker. If I believe in something, I feel like I'll run through the wall if I hit the wall. So I tend to take a lot of calculated risk in business, and especially in projects. Like I invest everything back into the company. So I'm not a rich man, nor will I ever be a rich man, because my mindset is always like feed the fire. And so it's also like you have to take that approach too if you want to grow, in the sense of getting employees. So every time you pay an employee, you have certain taxes you have to pay when you run payroll, right? And you have to like pay the a good wage too, so they can be comfortable and they can like make a good honest living. So the more employees you have, the more money you're technically not paying yourself. But in retrospect, you're also trying to build a culture and trying to scale the business, so they're helping you grow the business. And so you're just hoping that works out for not only your company, but that people enjoy what they're doing and they stay with you, and you can mold them into very, very important foundation that for whatever projects they're working on.
And have you ever had like I guess I could kind of ask you, like, what's the toughest roadblock? Like, what was that bad investment, or what was that thing like, hey, if I can go back in time, I probably would not have done this or that, or
So
book
many.
this person, or
I have so many.
which is the one that sticks out like the most? Which is that like
There has
that?
to be one that you remember. You're like,
Yeah,
fuck
you're
that, or
like
fuck that guy, or
that
God damn,
motherfucker, or whatever it
I
is.
still got 150 of his fucking autos in the back.
So I write all my losses and they're in my mirror. Like if I go to my mirror right now, I have a bunch of Post-it notes. I have literally bad reviews. I have lawsuits where I've been sued. I have anything that's negative to me. I have it to remind me how I can improve. Because sometimes when we do stuff and we care so much, it always comes like they're attacking you. I look at things really differently. When anybody takes time out of their day to fucking write a comment on my community about something I launched or send me an email, I take that feedback because they cared enough to comment. That's the one thing like you can't deny. You cared enough to make the comment. So I actually print a lot of that and I put it all around my mirror and I kind of like write notes on it sometimes. And it's never from a place like, oh, fuck this guy. No, I'm really like, where did I fuck up? Where I can actually like improve on it. And I've always been like that. Because nobody can ever say something that's going to be really negative that I don't tell myself every day anyways. So it's not like they're going to break me down like that. You have super tough skin to be an entrepreneur. You have to. But if I can pinpoint some things that really affected me or things that I learned a lot from was signings that you committed to on a handshake agreement, and then they try getting more money out of you. So that's where I started implementing contracts for a lot of our private signings. I've had issues where I invested into tech development for like applications, and then the programmers or engineers went rogue and that stopped responding, and then projects got derailed because of that, and that costed money too. I've had employees who've stolen, from me, unfortunately, or were doing things that were like taking information that we were doing and feeding it to other people. So like that hurts a lot, especially when you like, this is like everything, you know what I mean? Like this means so much to me. It's literally stands for Zoe and Kobe, my two daughters. So like it means everything to me. So that always affected me and hurt me. But you never once seen me go on social media and do a negative post or blast companies or I'm not that guy. I've never been that guy. I've always been like, how can I take something and like use it as fuel in a way to like motivate me and like maybe learn from it. And that's where I think I'm a lot different, especially in this day and age of social media. Like it's very easy to like get the emotion get the best of you and like tweet something or post something and put somebody in blast. But like I've never done that. Even when I've had employees steal or I've had like celebrities try to screw you over or promoters do some shady stuff. Like I've everything's happened, but I just kind of take it on the chin and I kind of learn from it and then just don't do business with them and learn from that.
That's true. That's true. So, I don't want to make this all about businessman. This is one of the biggest things that me and Fred have always talked about. We talk about it on the podcast. We talk about it in person and so forth. autographs versus the market. You know what I mean? Obviously, literally at a click of a button, I can get a variety of signed stuff from your website. Do you ever feel like it's maybe too much, that it oversaturates the market, or how do you feel about that?
I think right now we're normalizing. The market's normalizing right now. I think in the pandemic there was people who were at home who got into collecting and tried a little bit of everything, or they tried a whatnot platform, or they started attending events as soon as the pandemic, or as soon as the world opened up again. They started going to a lot of Comic Cons and obtaining collections. I think right now it's just normalizing. Like, no, I guess when the pandemic started, I remember having a conversation with my wife thinking like I'm about to lose everything I just started working on. Because at that point I was probably a year into full-time Zobie. And she's like, no, don't worry about it. Like, just keep focusing on what you're doing. I'm handling the bills. Don't worry about it. Like, this is the happiest I've ever seen you. It's not from what was happening on the news, but like what you're trying to build. And so it would be dumb for me to say that like being at home wasn't good for the business because like people couldn't attend Comic Cons. They were relying on private signing pre-orders or mystery boxes or anything like that. But what's happening right now with the market is definitely a down market in the sense that people are picking and choosing what they're purchasing. There is an oversaturation, especially because of platforms like Whatnot. There's a lot more that end user can find to consume a product, right? And you have yourself in a situation where like companies will be like, if you're selling something for 70, I'm gonna do 69, and then the other one's like, I'm doing 68, and I'm gonna do it 67, and it's just like a back and forth thing. I think where Zobie is different is if you buy something from me and it arrives fucked up, or I fucked up, I'm gonna make it right no matter what. And I think I built enough of that respect in the industry that the people who buy from us believe in what we're trying to accomplish. They also believe in what we're doing. And I've always been very transparent, brutally transparent, sometimes to the point where like I will sometimes get off of a live a video or update, and my wife will be like, did you really have to tell them the fucking everything? Like, like, she's kind of like, it's like, how do you do that? And I think I owe it to the people who have believed in me since day one to just be brutally honest, even though sometimes it's the hardest thing to do. And because not everything goes perfect. So yeah, right now the market's definitely down. But it's like everything. It's like a roller coaster, man. Like, I remember 2016 to 2019, the market was down. And then 2020 to 2022, the market was up. And now it's down. A couple of years will go back up. You see companies closing left and right now. A lot of it probably has to do with entrepreneurship burnout. One of the things that the industry and the market dictates too is just like your mental health in the industry. This isn't 40 hours a week, man. This isn't 60 hours a week. This isn't 80 hours a week. This is every fucking day. You're like, as soon as you wake up to like, as soon as you go to sleep, you're answering an email, you're answering a call, you're looking for a way to like add a new product SKU, you're looking at new projects, what's trending on the market. So it becomes your whole life, and for those who adjust and adapt, they find a way. And then sometimes just, mentally, it's just, we get drained out, you get burned out in the industry, and, you happen to just, unfortunately, go do something else. And it sucks. Like, it sucks. I hate seeing entrepreneurs fail. It really does bother me. Like, it bothers me a lot because lately it's been happening a lot. And it hurts me because, entrepreneurship is the best thing to do. Like, to me, there's no better thing than building something that you've always wanted. Like, for me, I look at life as it's going. Like, the time, this conversation we're having, like, the past is the past. We're not getting that time back. No matter how much money you make, you're not buying time. And tomorrow's not for sure either. Like, we take that for granted. We make plans like, oh, we're going to do this weekend. You don't even know if you're going to fucking wake up tomorrow. So I want to build something that I love, because then that means it's a successful day for me, because I did something I wanted. I didn't have to report to an asshole boss that like doesn't appreciate me and looks at me as just like a employee ID. So entrepreneurship is the greatest gift. I think it's one of the greatest gifts that we can be or can do. And so when I see it, it sucks. It sucks when I see the burnout, because I live on that cliff of mental health and like burnout all the time in this industry.
Mm-hmm. I get you. Yeah, it's funny because my brother, we all worked in retail. my brothers were like the Best Buy, store manager, assistant managers and stuff. And as soon as I get old enough, they're like, "Hey, you're gonna come work at Best Buy?" I said, "Nah, man. Like, I'm gonna do my own thing." Oh, my brother, he got burnt out of Best Buy. He started a BDA, like physical therapy and stuff, and he loves it. He's like, and me and him talk a lot, right? Because I joined Fred when we started the collectors, and he asked about opening a business, LLC, stuff like that, right? And he's like, now that I know how money works, taxes and so forth, it's really hard to want to work for somebody, because he does like hospital work, contract work. He's like, bro, like it's just so different now. Like it's a whole different aspect because you know where that money goes, and you care where you're investing it. For you have your employees, you care about where you're going to invest your time. And there's some corporate guy out there who's like, well, fuck these like 20 people, they're gone at a click.
Yeah, and to speak on that, like that's also like a huge stress too. Like to run payroll multiple times a month and have 401k packages and employee benefits like dental and eye and health insurance, and then paying taxes in every state that you operate in. Like that's one of the things that like I don't think it gets talked a lot about. I usually know what businesses are really operating at a different wavelength when I talk to them about e-commerce, because like I'll be like, hey, so how many states are you paying taxes on? They're like, oh, I don't pay taxes on it. I'm like, oh, okay. So like I already know in my head like where they're at just because that comment. Sometimes it's because like you get into a business and you're just kind of like, you don't know, you're just running it. And then like for me, I'll never forget it. It was probably the end of 2020. I had my accountant look at me and was like, hey, Jayare, you owe taxes in like 39 states. I was like, how the fuck do I owe taxes in 39 states? And they're like, well, you hit Nexus. So it's either over 200 transactions in that state in a calendar year, or over $100,000 in sales. And I'm like, I didn't even know that was a rule. It was like, I legit didn't know. And I realized how incompetent I was to certain things in business. And it fucking bothered the shit out of me. I read every article, every book, every YouTube fucking channel talking about it. And I started talking to other like entrepreneurs. I was like, dude, how do you do the state taxes? And they're like, oh my God, it's such a pain in the ass. And that is the biggest stress in this business is you have employee tax, you have payroll taxes that you have to pay, you have state taxes, you have a franchise tax in the state of Texas, you have the IRS taxes, you have state taxes. So you have right there, it's like 6 taxes that you have to pay. And it's most of them, especially the state ones, are monthly. So you have 5 figures, sometimes 6 figures that you have to pay just to operate your business. So I remember the times where I would just sell a couple of autograph, 8x10s. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even have to worry about anything. And now it's like the headaches. As you grow, you get headaches too from like dealing with this employee doesn't like this employee, or they had something happened during lunch, and it's like all this stuff that you don't even think you have to deal with. You end up dealing with it. That's the sucky part of it. But like, yeah, it's also like a blessing because you learn a lot about yourself and how you handle situations like that.
That's true. So, kind of going into that, we have in the comments, thank God we only sell in Texas. That's the problem, Jay. We only sell in Texas, Jay. Jay's our
wait till you start getting the franchise tax in the state of Texas. In order to operate in the state of Texas, and you make a certain amount, you have to pay a franchise tax. Look that up. That's
I'm about to hire Jayare as our accountant now. We got Zobie will always be my business. Jayare knows how to treat the customers. We talked about that with customer service.
That's I literally just sent an email reminder to the whole team yesterday. I was literally putting my truck in reverse. I was leaving the office. I have a weird schedule that I do, but I got a message on Facebook and they were asking me like, hey, heads up, I sent an email yesterday. I haven't gotten a response. And that is like the most triggering thing as a owner of a company, when like a customer is not getting a response within a business day. Cause like I'm impatient as fuck. Like I'm so impatient. So the fact I apologized and then I sent an email in the parking lot. I didn't want to walk in back because I was just gonna be upset, but I was like, guys, every single email must be addressed, or at least tell them that if you don't know something, you're gonna give them a response within the next business day. But like communication is vital for us. Customer service is the foundation of our company, period. Customer, period. And I feel like that is like, if you ever like, when I was like coming up and I would travel to like San Antonio, go to a concert, I'd always stay at Motel 6, and their marketing strategies out, we'll leave the light on for you. And I would always stay at like the cheapest hotel I could possibly find. And then one time I was blessed to go on an opportunity to go stay at a 5-star resort at the company that I was with at the time paid for. And as soon as I walked in, they fucking knew my name, and they like walked me to the check-in desk, and I went and hit the key on my room, and there was like a little note in the bed that says, welcome, Mr. Gallegos. Anything you need, here's a number. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Motel 6 didn't do this shit to me. And I remember I had taken my wife and daughter because, like, when the fuck was I going to stay at a 5-star resort, And so we went down on this Ritz Carlton. We went down to eat, and as soon as I walked in there, like, hello, Mr. Gallegos, like, and they didn't fucking know, like, how the fuck? I asked them, I was like, how do you know my name, And they're like, well, we get all the information of everybody's checking in. I'm like, and then when you make a reservation, like everything's like right here in front of us, And I'm like, that's fucking insane. Like, so I wanted to implement that for like Zobie. Like, I wanted the customer service to feel like VIP at all times. Like every email answered within a business day. When I first started and I was the only employee, I was answering messages until like midnight, and people would call me. Dude, I had a customer one time call me at 2:30. I still remember this. They didn't know what to buy. And back then, when you called, you were calling my cell phone number. Like legit, no fucking joke. Like you were literally calling my cell phone number. So like I would answer and I would get out of bed and go to my computer, like turn it on and help them shop. Like it was, my wife would be like, what the fuck are you doing? But to me, I think that's what I felt like would always separate us from everybody,
Mm-hmm. That's true. We got Jay saying the customers can make you or break you no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Yeah. I've seen a lot of companies have the best product, like literally have the best product at the best prices, but fail because of customer service. And it happens, and then I've also seen people who have really good products, great idea, no fucking marketing. So it's one of those things you have to walk that line of having really good customer service, having really good marketing, fostering a community, and just being transparent. I think that those are definitely like rules to live by in entrepreneurship.
That's true. So, you scaled the fence, right? You started McAllen, did some of the little rock shows and stuff and so forth. You had the company going on, you got your warehouse and stuff. So kind of what was that part of you that wanted to do like cons? What kind of made you say like, I'm going to go from being a vendor to I'm going to organize this? Because, sometimes, and we all do it. I don't care what any vendor says here. You judge the show, right? Whether it's traffic, the marketing,
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you look for that excuse, right? Oh, I'm not doing good because of this,
Yeah.
or whatever it is. So what kind of made you like say,
put me next
what?
To the restroom in the corner.
Yeah, they put me next to the restroom, man. What are they doing?
They should have put me over here on the other side over here. I would have made more money over here.
There's like a whole other thing that me and Fred talk about. Like we don't think it's the people that organize, it's the vendors. Like if you're not talking, you're not pricing your items, it's on you. Like it is.
You don't want to know my opinion about that. Yeah. So we started doing vendings or being vendors last March.
Okay.
We've only been doing shows since last March. We went into it aggressively August of 2022. This year we're signed up for 48 shows, and we're from Texas to like next week we're in Washington D.C. for AwesomeCon. So we're traveling. So a lot of the money the business was making, or I was taking out financial loans to like get box trucks and sprinter vans and trailers and all this. I felt like Comic Cons are supposed to be fun. I think that the promoter's job is to book the best possible talent, to give the best possible price to the vendor so they can make money, and to market the fuck out of the event. Those three things, I think you're good. And so vending at shows, you have to be a salesman, right? You have to have a really good salesman in your team, and if it's not you, it's okay. It's okay if you're not the best salesman. I'm not the best salesman. I'm not. I'm really good at talking. I can talk to a customer about collecting fucking cowboys or horror shit, and then I can switch it and talk to a board of directors at any fucking. You tell me, hey, go pitch it to this person. I'll go fucking pitch it and I'll rock it. I'm that confident in myself. But I can talk lingo on both, and a lot of it's because of my background in cybersecurity, right? I had to do 6 o'clock morning phone calls about viruses impacting, fucking different federal buildings. So you're on the edge, and it's a high pressure situation. So I'm really good at that. I think that from a vendor standpoint, if you show up and you're not organized, if it doesn't look like you can walk into a 10 by 10 booth if your stuff's not priced, and if you're just going to be sitting there with your hands like this, nobody's going to fucking shop from you. It's you. It's not the promoter. It's nobody. It's you. And that's the reality of it. You know, like I remember my first couple of shows, we weren't having success. We just weren't. You know, I felt like I had really good items, but it wasn't displayed properly. You know, so I invested in grid. I invested in proper shelving, and then I started going to shows, and I would sell everything on a Saturday. I would have nothing to fucking sell on Sunday. So I'm like, oh yeah, I need to get a fucking van. You know, like I got to hire somebody to drive my fucking product. You know, I got to get insurance, you know, make sure nobody steals my shit. Right. Like I just, you know, I invested and I learned, you know, we just finished doing the worst show we've ever done in the history of the company. And I wasn't upset about it. I'm like, what the fuck can I learn from that? You know? And you obviously don't want to start convention season with doing a bad show. And the show wasn't bad itself. We just didn't do as good. Like I have certain goals, and if I don't meet the goals, I'm going to be fucking upset. Not at my employees, at myself, because that means I didn't bring the proper product to that market. And if you just go to a show and you just like take whatever, you're not going to be successful, man. Like there's a big difference between people who do these shows every single city and every single major show. They put market research. They know data of what sold, how many sold, they got the product, and then they can scale the next year. So if you just show up with a bunch of hotspot shit, like you're not taking it seriously. And trust me, like if you're set up next to us, we're going to outshine you just because we're prepared. My guys are trained how to sell, how to do customer relations, where everything's at. There's a reason why it's there, because I fucking developed it to be there based on analytics and based on past show success. So we take that shit very seriously at our company. Like I never want our stuff to look like shit, because sometimes that's your opportunity to make an impression too on a customer. Like when somebody walks in and shit's on the floor or shit's all dusty or damaged and stuff, that is your brand that you're representing. So my guys know better. Like that's why I still go to Comic-Cons. I can't stand around. Like I have really bad ADHD, but like I'm there to set up. Like I literally got pulled last week and they're like, what are you doing? You're like bringing in the grid. I'm like, yeah. Like, why? I'm like, because this is how it reminds me of like what I need to fix. I'm always looking for a method to do things quicker and more efficiently. So yeah, I set up my own grid at shows. I set up everything just because I feel like it's important for me to really be in tune with what's going on for our company.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember, first started the company before, and it was like a challenge, right? I think the show that we did, or I went with you, Faye, what was like? I think we like $300 or something, right?
Yeah, it was like some
It
mom
was like
and
a
pop
small
shop
show.
we went to. Yeah,
And I
small
remember
little-
like my smart ass just being like the hustler. I was like, Fred, I could totally double this, bro. Like, we got to do this next show. Like, we're gonna double. I think we ended up like making like 1,000, 1,200. We were like, oh shit, like this is fucking great. Like, and then we worked on packing. Like, we don't use grid right now. We've considered it actually after Comic-Con stuff. But we've realized how we can set up, how we can tear down, make it a 1-man, 2-man, 3-man. Because that's dead time, man. Sometimes we would set up and make our table before we even open.
Yeah.
And that's the goal as a vendor. Like, you want to make your table as quick as possible, because after that, you're like, hey, I'm rocking and rolling. This is going and everything.
Dude, I broke it down to where in order for us to do a show, it's going to cost us $2,000 minimum. It's going to be $1,000 to $1,200 just for the booth. It's going to be like diesel fuel for our van. And based on what cities we go to, I can calculate it, because there's websites that can help you calculate how much diesel is going to be. I'm paying my employees, paying the taxes for the state that we're going to be operating in, and then the inventory that I might need based on the analytics from the previous year or based on just what I'm searching for. I search marketplace in different cities I'm going to go to, because I can tell what's being sold already by the zip code of the marketplace. So that's a tip for you entrepreneurs who are listening to this. If you're going to go to a show, and let's just say Denver, go into the marketplace, go into OfferUp, go into all those areas, type in the zip code you're going to be in, and see what people are selling and what prices they're selling it for. And if you have the same items, know that you're going to price them at the right rate to sell it. Don't go by PPG. PPG is a fucking fake bullshit. It's all fake database. That whole thing. I won't even get started on that. It's all bullshit. You have to learn the market you're going into, and so I do a lot of that. I write down, oh, hey, this person's selling these type of figures for $20. We know we have 7 of them, $15. Pump and dump on that stuff, right? So a lot of it goes. There's a lot more than just signing up for vendor table to do have success at some of these shows.
Yeah, that's true. So, what kind of made you take the element of wanting to be a vendor? And now, do you organize shows, or I know we talked about like you bring the talent for sure. Like, what kind of made you step into that role?
I met people who had the same vision about running shows, and I'll manifest it. Like I want to have a show in every fucking state in the U.S. You know what I mean? I want to run shows in every major market, A markets and B markets. I do a lot of market research on what cities to go to, what shows they get, how I can do an experience geared towards a collector, and then also foster a community of vendors who can do one show, have success, go to the next show that I will be a part of, and they know what to expect from a marketing perspective. Because my thing is just building building a relationship with other entrepreneurs who can help me build shows and just take over. That's not even going to shy away from it. I want to run everywhere, and sometimes you can meet really cool people in this industry over time. Like I meet people like Gilbert and Fred and John, and I can just build relationships where we're just talking in a hotel room one night, and we're like, we should run shows. I'm like, I fucking agree, And so I have people like Gilbert and Fred who are very good. They have their agents, they represent talent. They're able to book talent, and then I focus on contacting the space, getting the contracts, getting the insurance, getting seed money to build it, doing all the marketing, all the ads, all the design, Photoshop. I have Adam help me with that. Build a marketing strategy for that market, and then build shows. And so I've been very blessed to just have different. I've never built, other than Zobie when I first started, I have partners for everything. We just don't openly talk about it on social media, but I like finding other people who think like me and build stuff together. I don't ever care about getting 100% of the pie. Like I'm okay taking a smaller slice of the pie if I'm going to build something with somebody who has as much passion about it as me. And so I have lots of different business partners, and we've been able to build some really cool shows. We have new shows next year, and yeah, man, that's why I went into promotion.
That's awesome. Yeah, because with Fred, when we started doing events and stuff, I always told Fred, like, man, like, do I really want to like quit retail to go into retail? Like, because it's fun and everything. Then when we started doing cons and stuff, I told Fred, like, like, yeah, like cons, there's good money to be made, but for me, it's about delivering that experience, and like for me, like, and I'll just use like we have one local convention here. They brought Power Rangers. My son's a huge Power Ranger fan, right? Because I had him grow up watching Power Rangers. And to see his face, meeting the Red Ranger, the Black Ranger, I was like, you know what? Like, I would love to be able to do that, like myself, produce it myself,
Mm-hmm.
And I've always told Fred, maybe in 2-3 years, we'll just take little notes from the shows that we're doing, pick some brains here. But, in a perfect world, I always thought of myself, like, I would like to do a con like in North Texas, South Texas, West and East, and then kind of branch that out through, the entire United States eventually,
Yeah, that's what started with Gilbert and I. We were in the pandemic. It was May of 2020. And we said, hey, we need to do a Comic-Con. We should do an anime Comic-Con. The future of this business is anime. You might not like it, but I promise you, if you have kids, they watched it or they're watching it and they're going to continue to watch it. So what, to me, the 90s was with like Saved by the Bell and Nickelodeon and all that, anime is to your kids. And trust me, when they get to 30s, 40s, they're going to be going to Comic-Cons for anime because that is their youth. So the future consumer is not you and me. No, if you're focused on just your demographic right now, you've already lost this. You need to be focused on the kids that are coming with their parents to the shows and what they're into. And the reality is those little kids, they're not watching Tom Cruise movies or, Batman movies and thinking like, man, that's so fucking cool. I want to meet them. Nah, bro, they're fucking watching anime and manga. They're watching YouTubers, influencers. That's their fucking A-listers. So you need to create products for that clientele because they're the ones that are going to be spending when they get the degree and they have extra income before they have children. They have all this expendable income. That's what you want to market to. And from a promoter standpoint, I understand that. So I build mine not to the customers I have now, but to the future customers of Zobie in 10, 15 years. So promotion to me is seeing how the demographics are already reacting to certain things. Like I've never in my life have seen a Dragon Ball Z, a My Hero, Demon Slayer. Nothing. Never seen an episode. Never seen 60 seconds of it. Nothing. But my Zoe and my Kobe and my wife know everything about anime. I run 4 anime shows. Literally, Chris Abbott will literally be like, explain something to me that he filmed, and then he literally looks at me. He's like, "Oh, you don't fucking watch this shit. Okay, let me break it down for you." And he'll literally break it down to me, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, I get it now." I don't fucking watch it. I don't. But I have smarter people around me to help with stuff that I don't know. Now, you tell me about 90s culture, talk about sports, you talk to me about like horror, dude, all fucking day. I can sneakers, like whatever I'm into, cool. But I also know that to scale Zobie, I hire way smarter, more talented people than myself to help me build that. And so from a promotion standpoint, yeah, you're right. When your kid sees Red Power Ranger and the Black Power Ranger and they enjoy that moment, that's exactly why you should be promoting. You're promoting an event so those kids can have that experience for life. That memory of that glory day when they went with their dad and met this Power Ranger, and the dad knows the Red Ranger and he knows it because he watched it too. They're going to have kids one day. And you need to be able to build product SKUs and create a culture for that, for them, for the future. That's really what it breaks down to.
Yeah, very good. So, recently we had Ramsey Ramirez on the podcast, and it's funny because we were kind of talking like how we did before, like when we were testing equipment and stuff, right? And I was telling him, Ramsey, like I did a lot of research, man, and he's like, oh, kind of like that Hot Ones. Have you ever seen that show, Hot Ones, or no?
The wings?
Yeah. So they do like this part there, and I just stole it, bro. At Walmart we always talk about stealing shamelessly, right? Yeah. So I may or may not have found some photos, man. And so I'm gonna share them, and I just want to see if you can give us some context, like. I remember this, I remember that. Okay. And I promise it's not that bad, man. You're gonna be like,
we ain't gonna find you in the corner, bro. You're good. It's good. Professional photos, man.
I don't want you to be like cybersecurity and hack my IP or nothing,
No,
he's about to shut off your computer right now. You don't even know.
No, real quick though, shout out to Ramsey. He runs really successful shows in the Valley. I think he's really giving a platform in South Texas for people to again have those experiences. I was very impressed by the last show he did, the South Texas Comic-Con one, because I learned something from his shows that we're definitely going to implement in our shows. He had it queued up to where the customer would queue up in one area, and it would not cause traffic jams because they would call it into the directly in front of the celebrity as a line, but in a separate area you can wait. So all the overage, right, of people would not disrupt traffic flow, because marshals will shut your shit down when there's no traffic flow. And I learned that. And to me, that was absolutely, I was like, dude, that's fucking so smart. So what's his girlfriend's name? Marley?
Marley.
Great customer service too. Anytime I've ever had a question, I send an email. She's like super fast on that email. Again, they do it right. And he's probably one of the best promoters in Texas, so I have a lot of respect for him and his team, especially they helped us out with the video game setup too for Riverwalk Anime, nice. which again, that's why you want to work with different promoters and that are like-minded about building something really beautiful and good for the environment, for the area, because you help each other, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, 100%. And it's funny because I talked to Ramsey. I said, man, a lot of people were complaining, man, but it's on the vendor, at the end of the day, if I don't push it, I'm not going to point fingers on why this and that happened,
Look, man, can we just be brutally honest? Having a storm in South Texas, the weekend of your event. Now, look, from a promoter standpoint, I work on things that don't happen for a year and a half. And sometimes in the past, I've worked on things for a couple months and then it goes nowhere. So it's not like he started working on that event 2 days before that fucking event. Nobody would foresee a storm hitting your city the weekend you're working on. He's probably putting in work for next March already. Yeah. You put a lot of fucking time into this, into promoting, man. To promotion, from insurance to the dates. Sometimes you have to fight these venues to get the dates you want. They want to give you dates on holidays that nobody's going to go to your show for. Marketing's a motherfucker. It's more expensive than ever to market now on Meta or on Google or Bing, or Twitter for that matter, depending on how you market. So the fact that he had a storm and he was still able to pull off an event, that's some balls right there, dude. Straight up. I have a lot of respect for that, because a lot of people wouldn't be able to pull that off, period. They just wouldn't. And so, like, I think he deserves praise for that. So if vendors are upset, they didn't make a certain amount, or they were not happy with the AC not working, or electricity not working for a lot of Saturday, there were still people in that building.
Yeah.
There was still the celebrity still showed up. Everybody was still trying. I saw Ramsey running around all fucking day Saturday trying to like help. And so, and I saw him, literally saw him asking different vendors, like, hey, do you need anything? A lot of promoters wouldn't done that, man. I'm telling you. So like, I think you can bitch and moan and complain. It's very easy to do that from your chair.
Yep.
Put yourself in those shoes. How would you do it if you're in that situation? And before everybody talks like, oh, I would do a better job. Shut the fuck up. No, you fucking wouldn't. There's a reason why you're not trying. And the people who try. The people who don't, they always have an opinion. You're sitting in your fucking chair being a fucking loser. That's just facts, okay? So for him, he got a lot of my respect, because to pull off an event like that takes a lot of balls.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. So, when we talked to them, we talked off camera before and after, and I was like, hey man, how can I make the podcast better? Because continuously they get better. So I'm gonna bring up some memories here, man. I hope I'm not touching anything here, okay?
Yeah.
So, but let's see if you remember any of these particular things. So this is the first one that I saw.
Yeah.
So you want to explain what happened here? I see the logo looks a little different compared to what you have now.
Yeah. So that was the first logo we ever did. I want to say that was 2017 to 2019. Can I be brutally honest?
I mean, it's your platform, man. It's your time.
I love this logo. I would still have this logo to this day. The only reason I don't have this logo is because once we started getting popularity on social media, everybody came out with a Shield logo. And I always felt like I had to switch it up because I didn't want to be like everybody else. I always felt maroon and gold, like it was like almost like a Game of Thrones badge. Like there's a lot of meaning in that logo. There's 3 diamonds in it because it's for Zoe, Kobe, and Jenny, my 3 girls, right? And my wife and my 2 daughters, right? And then like it was always like a really, really, I love that logo. But once we started getting popularity on social media, everybody started coming out with similar designs. And I just felt like we had to change it. But every time I see this logo, it reminds me of I should have just stuck with it no matter what, because a lot of the companies who started copying us from that stand, they're not even around anymore, And but yeah, that was the first logo ever of Zobie. Celebworks is a company based out of California, run by Chris and Neri, 2 Chris's and Neri actually. And this is Ed right here signing with his Daytona Rolex watch, it looks like. About a $65,000 stainless steel Rolex right there.
In a throne.
Sitting at his home in Burbank, California, signing autographs for us.
So how did that go? Was he a cool guy to meet? When I think of Ed O'Neill, man, I just think, Al Bundy, bro, all day. I mean, I'll be that guy. I was up watching that stuff at 11:30, no cable and shit. That was me, bro, all day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I actually wasn't at the signing. Signing, Neri took care of this one. So Ed is very particular on who goes to his house to do signings. So I think this one was his agent and Neri, and Neri, poor Neri, he had to like have stuff outside and then have stuff inside. And as things were getting signed, he'd literally walk down the hallway, put it outside, bring it back in, so just to not make a mess in Ed's dining room. But yeah, this is back when we used to do everything on deco too, because he's actually in his hand is a thin deco color blue paint pen. And this is back when we didn't know better, but in California, when you fly with paint pens, if you put them in your checked-in bag, when you open them up, they're just going to leak because the pressure changes so much on a marker. So deco color also, it takes a lot longer to dry. So when you're doing signings like this, sometimes it's not the most ideal situation. Like we've done signings in driveways before, like legitimately, because we weren't allowed in the house or they didn't want any guests inside the house. So whenever there's cabin pressure or there's too much heat, some of these markers will just explode on you. So I remember Neri trying to FaceTime me. He's like, these aren't drying. What do I do? So I still remember this day. It was so chaotic. I remember I lived on my phone for 3.5 fucking hours during this whole signing.
That's awesome. Okay, let's see what other hidden gems.
Where'd you find that photo?
Man, I don't want to disclose nothing, man. So no, I'm just kidding. So the way I found it, so we booked Terra Sands. We had a little incident with one of the promoters here a while back for Terra Sands. It didn't work out. We lost the money, right? We still have the product, man. I got like what is like 80 Bulbasaur's, Fred, or whatever.
80 Bulbasaurs
Bro,
chilling in the back.
they're just sitting there. And so like one day I told Fred, like, you know what, bro? Like I'm in North Dakota. I'm not going to the shop. Like, fuck it. Let me contact her. I contact her. She got me in with Celebrity Works with nearly actually where I did the contract. And so through there, I found out that he does a podcast with some of the people. And then from there, I just did that rabbit hole, man. You know, I was clicking, I saw that you did the podcast, and I dug, man. I ain't gonna lie. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna bring up this new segment in the podcast because you know I take feedback, you know, openly, man. I want to be better. You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
I want the entertainment to be better. So when Ramsey's like, hey, you know, like the explain your gram, I said, bro, I'm gonna do that. Like Jayare's gonna be the first victim. Like I'm sorry.
Yeah,
like, you know?
no, I'm all good. Like, yeah, you know, me Wito, man. Like, I'm down for whatever. I don't care. Yeah, it's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, let's see. The other one that I found here is let's see the context we can get on this one is I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah, this was in Nashville, Tennessee. This was the Walker Stalker in Nashville, Tennessee. I flew in. I had sent 6 boxes via FedEx to the Westin or Omni. I forget which hotel it was. And they were full of bats. And when I got there, all the boxes arrived like half open. And so I was like shitting bricks because like I think Jeffrey was like, I'll be there like at 7:00, and I didn't get the boxes till like 6:00, so I was scrambling. But yeah, so Jeffrey Dean Morgan signed all these bats. There's actually way more bats. I think that signing, he ended up signing like 600 pieces. I want to say at least 350 of them were fucking bats.
Fucking crazy.
Yeah.
What's it called? Very cool, very cool, very cool. And then let's see. Let's see. Let's go with this is gonna be my personal favorite, man. You can probably see why I picked this one. The early days, you know, I always tell Fred, you know, I always like to look back on the things that we did. Do you remember this flyer?
Oh yeah. So this was the first pop culture mystery box we ever did, or at least one of them. This is actually this is a promotional one actually. It's kind of funny seeing this because Adam recently brought some flyers to me and we were just comparing design work from where we started to now. And this was one of Adam's first designs that he did for the company. And it also like mystery boxes to me help my creative side. And so it also reminds me of some of the things I want to go back to that were very difficult to do the last 2 years, like getting Funkos in quantity in good shape is really hard. Getting different artists to meet timelines is the most hardest thing to do. I remember artists would be like, I would pay them, and then they would be like a week before we had to get the prints, and I'd be like, "Hey, where's the art?" Like, "Oh, I'm really gonna start it tonight." I'm like, "Bro, what are you fucking talking?" And they would stress me out so much, you know. And then having the lapel pin designs, we went through multiple manufacturers until we found one that was consistently able to get it to us for 6 to 7 weeks. And then in the pandemic, it was hard because they all come from China. Like the lapel pins all come from China. And they're very expensive to produce small batches. So anytime you see us produce a pin that was 50 or 100, those fucking pins are expensive, especially because you laser engrave them in the back just to add more collectible, item to it. But yeah, like this is a lot of the things that we started doing back in the day. We're actually going back to. You don't make money on mystery boxes. Like you don't make money, period. Like it's really building a brand because your margins are so fucking small. But I have so much fucking fun with it, and as long as people support it, I'll do them. But yeah, mystery boxes it's a tough market, man.
Yeah. The Megazord is legendary. I'm a huge Power Rangers fan. That's what made me want to save it or whatever.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, that fucking pin looks cool.
Yeah, no, Adam, my employee, he actually produced that. He created the art for that.
Nice. And then Jay, I don't want to look back at our old flyers. You know, I'm not gonna lie. Now we have a guy. It's kind of expensive, you know, to save the time. But man, ours are just. I mean, this is actually top of the line compared to what we used to do, man. But
dude, I'm telling you, some of the pins that we came out with in the beginning, or some of the products we were putting on the box, somebody will randomly post it on the community. I'm like, holy fuck, I don't even remember doing that. Like, it's so crazy. I was trying to do a ad video today with Ray. He's got all these fancy computers or cameras, I should say, and I was like, I literally was calling Adam because he was in the warehouse next to me. And I'm like, dude, do you remember this box? He's like, I have no idea. Like, it's kind of crazy because up until this point, we've produced so much different lapel pins and art and autographs. The guy that makes the pin design for us, I saw him at Frightmare at a show like 2 weeks ago, and he's like, hey, I have this huge flyer that has every single design that's ever been done from lapel pins for Zobie. I'm like, bro, like send me the file, I can print it out and give it to everybody because I want one. Like I want to be able to frame one because some of the stuff I don't fucking remember anymore, you know. Our pins also go for a lot of money in the secondary market. Like one of our that Megazord sold for $92 recently.
Damn.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So like our lapel pins in the aftermarket have the highest resale value of any company's lapel pins, and it's because we're 2-inch lapel pins, so size matters, guys. And they're laser engraved.
You're telling me there's a chance? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. They're laser engraved, and you know, I feel like pin collectors are a whole nother demographic too. Like we have a lapel pin mystery box that we're doing, and it's going to be literally $12 and shipping's included for the US, and everybody's getting a lapel pin every single month. So that's launching in July, and so I'm excited for that as well. Just producing stuff like that, you know, for different people who collect stuff like that, you know.
Very good. I got just a couple more photos here, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take you down nostalgic avenue here.
Hmm.
So, what about this one here, man? Looks like you're doing some pre-COVID, possible COVID, illegal waffles, or what are they called now these days?
Yeah, so this was a in-store appearance by Leah Clark at our shop, and we all had to wear masks. And I was texting the JSA guy, like, "Where the fuck you at?" That's literally.
You can see in the eyebrows, bro. You're like, the fuck is going on?
Like, I remember being like, "No, it's 6 o'clock. Where the fuck you at?" You know. Yeah, that's what happened right there. That's funny.
Nice. And then this last one, man, this is kind of one of my personal favorites next to the Power Ranger one, man, because I remember I think Fred actually went to this one because I was stuck out here. Oh wait, no, hold on. Oh, my bad. Technical difficulties, guys.
What'd you do?
It's been a minute, man. Let's see.
Yeah, so that was Animeverse.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was this year because Abby Trout's banner is right there. So that was her line right there. Isn't that crazy? Like, so in the bottom right hand side, that's Abby Trout. That's where she's at. She's meeting fans, and then that line went all the way across the convention center, where people that were trying to meet her. And that's fucking insane. And on the very top, you see Sean Schimmel's line over there. He had over 100 people in his line. It's crazy, man. It's just so crazy.
So what were some of the stressful things that day? Do you remember anything that stuck out in particular? You were kind of like, man, like this is crazy, or I didn't account for this, or
yeah. We had our headliner, Chris Sabat, cancel 3 weeks before this event, and I fucking was getting eaten alive by email for the show. People like, I was driving to meet Chris Sabat, you ruined my weekend, and there was people opening chargebacks without even sending us emails, and like it was just fucking brutal. So I work with the phones. I announced Yuri, you know, from Naruto to replace him. People calm down, and then I'll never forget this, dude. It was Thursday. The show starts Friday, and you have to get car service for these people. So like when they fly in, you have, you know, a driver waiting for them. It's very expensive. It's like $150 per each way. So you're spending like $300 on per celebrity. So if you have 10 celebrities, do the math. And the agent was calling me. I'm like, "Que chingas quieres este vato?" Right? Like I was like, fuck. I was like, "Hello?" And he's like, "Hey man, how are you doing?" I was like, "What do you want?" And he's like, "Hey, Yuri's very sick. He won't be able to make the show." I'm like, "What the dude?" I like literally, like, I remember putting the phone down and he's talking. I'm not even listening to it. I'm like, holy fuck. I'm about to get eaten a fucking alive right now. So I put the phone back and I'm like, "Hey, no worries. Thanks, man." And I just hung up and I'm thinking like, all right, what do I do? Like, and I remember talking to my business partner and we sat there for like literally 10 minutes just on our phones trying to figure out what to do. So we made a couple phone calls, and I announced on social media, hey, I just got word that Yuri won't be able to make the show. Dude, anytime there's any negative thread, pay attention to it. Like if you see somebody post something negative, it gets the most engagement because everybody's got their 2 cents, right?
Every time.
So like this fucking thread has like 100 comments in the matter of 10 minutes, and it's just like, oh fuck this, what a rip off, blah blah blah, and I'm just like, oh my god. And I don't even mention why he's sick. He's legit sick, right? You can't fault that. You can't. I mean, nobody expects that to happen. So we ended up calling Eric Bell, and he was such a sweetheart of a man because it was like, look, we'll fly you out, and he's like, oh, it's my only weekend out. Let me talk to my wife. Let me figure this out. Dude flies in like a champ, and it's actually funny because he said, I still remember this, and I should say this. So he goes, let me ask my wife because I was gonna have the weekend off. And a couple hours go by, we're trying to handle the Yuri backlash, and Yuri ends up making a post because he sees we're just getting torched. Like he starts actually commenting, like, hey, I'm sick, guys. It's not their fault. I get a message, Gilbert and I get a message like at 11 o'clock on a Thursday, and Eric's like, hey, I know you guys are like getting slammed right now on social media. I went ahead and just booked my flight. Don't worry about having car service. I'm going to Uber to the event. I don't want you to stop what you're doing and book a flight for me. Just we'll take care of it when I leave on Sunday. This fucker literally went out of his way, booked his own flight, booked his own car service, and just showed up to our event, banner in hand, autograph 8x10s and paint pens in the luggage, went to the booth and fucking destroyed and saved our ass, and never didn't take $1 from us. He just showed up on his own dime and to help us, and obviously we took care of him like when he was leaving, but it was just one of those things where it's like, those are the type of relationships that you build where people will go out of the way to help you out, mm-hmm. and that means a lot to me because we needed a lifeline there, so that was that was that event. That was that whole weekend. I didn't have fun at all that whole weekend. It was really stressful. That's how I lost my hair. No, I'm joking.
You're like, this wasn't a choice.
Yeah. Now, I actually do this in the pandemic because I didn't want to pay a barber. I'm super cheap with stuff. Like I'll just save the money and just cut my own hair. So I actually have a full set of hair. I just fucking cut it like that.
I get you. And then the last one I have here, man, this is a little bit, I think this one's actually a little bit more recent. I wanted to end in something good here, man.
So. Yeah, that's the team right there, man. So right front and center is my beautiful wife, Jen. And then my business partners are to the left and right of me. So John's wearing gray shorts, and then Fred, his older brother, is right next to him. Gilbert's to my left, and his beautiful wife, Sonia. But yeah, that's the crew right there, man. We made a first time event there in San Antonio, Texas. Never ran a show at that venue or in that city for that matter. We had over 10,000 people show up for a first time event. We had over 150 vendors. We had 19 celebrity guests. The event was a fucking success, but I wouldn't be able to do it without the support of the wife and everybody that's on that photo. They're vital to having a successful show. And that's what I mean. Like, you come together and build things with people who have the same goals and aspirations in life. And I'm very blessed to have people like that in my life.
Very cool. Very cool. But that's awesome, man. I just wanted to kind of change up the podcast a little bit, bring up some pictures that are there. But very cool, man. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I feel like we could talk for hours, but one of the biggest things, Jayare, I appreciate your time. The one thing I wanted to say, man, in our podcast, man, we have a lot of local people, pretty much, we're more in the valley, we haven't expanded that way yet outside of the valley too much. Do you have any words of advice, man? Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. A lot of people are starting. Do you have any words of wisdom? Now, I'm not telling people to quit their jobs. I always got to do the disclaimer, right? Don't just quit from one day to the next, right? Have a plan in place. But any, advice, anything that, you would like to, if you could go back to your younger self, you give that one message to yourself, what would it be or what?
That's a deep question. Cherish everything, man. Like, honestly, life goes by so quick. And recently it was something that one of the people I greatly respect in this industry passed away unexpectedly last week. I actually have the viewing and funeral tomorrow and Thursday. And one of my last conversations with this individual, he always kept it real. So something that happens in this industry, and I've been exposed to it a lot, is people always want to be in your circle because they expect something. And then there's people that come along in your life that are just absolutely real. And those are the ones you get upset at because sometimes they'll tell you the stuff you don't want to hear at that time. But those are the people that I cherish the most because the conversation I had with that individual, it's been eating me alive. I've been waking up every night at 2, 3 in the morning, nightmares with it because I keep relieving it. But it was the best advice, one of the best advice I ever gotten in this business. I remember it was October, November of this year. I was in the office and I asked that person, man, like, I'm so proud of all the success you're having. Like, how did you scale your company this big, you know? And he's 10 years older than me. He's 47. And I go, what's your 5-10 year goal? And he laughed and he stopped what he was doing. He looked at me dead in the eyes and he goes, that's such a young question to ask, Jayare. That's why I like you, because you ask shit like that. And I started laughing. I go, I'm just like curious, like, well, what do you want to accomplish? He said, I want what the last 2 years, what's happened in this business, the boom. I want 2 more years of that. So I can have enough money to spend all the time with my family I possibly can. And I remember like when he said that, I had this weird feeling in my body because it's one of the things I struggle with the most. Earlier I spoke about entrepreneurship and how it's one of the best things you can do. And that whole journey is exciting. The reality is you have to sacrifice a lot. You're not going to make a lot of money. You're going to get shit on a lot. You're going to take a lot of fucking L's. And the people around me who pick me up, who I always say my wife is the one that bandages me up and then throws me out every single morning out to the world. And I come beat up at the end of the day and she kind of just patches me up and the same shit over and over. You want to spend all the time in the world with the people you love, the reason why you're doing what you're doing. The reality is you don't spend a lot of time with them when you're building shit. You sacrifice a lot. You miss things. You miss parties. I miss my daughter's party going to Comic-Cons. I had to do mail-ins. I remember that bothered me a lot for a long time. I missed Halloween. I missed a bunch of shit. And the advice that he gave me about like, I just want to spend time with my family. That's where I'm at. And so do something like entrepreneurship, do it. Go all in, but make sure you make time for the people you love. And it's going to change. People are going to come and go in this business. Make sure you have time for them, love them, and tell them, make sure they know that you love them. Give each other praise. Other entrepreneurs, it's not a competition. There's money for everybody. But honestly, I'm not doing this shit for money. If I wanted money, I'd go back to cybersecurity. I was making great fucking money there. I do this and I get paid nothing sometimes. Sometimes when I make payroll, I don't even pay myself because there's not enough money to go around. So you're not in entrepreneurship for money. It's not going to happen like that. So do it with positive mindset. Don't fuck anybody over. Spend time with the ones you love. Remind yourself why you're doing what you're doing and make sure you don't get so down on yourself. You know, it's not just you going through this shit. A lot of people are going through it. But if you're more vocal and you surround yourself with people like you and you can be transparent and they don't judge you for it, you'll find that they're going through some shit too. And I think that if you surround yourself with people like that, they're full of positivity and love for you and don't judge you for your mistakes, you're gonna be good. And just don't dwell on it, you know. And so that's the advice I'm taking. I'm taking that advice from that individual that they told me, you know, spend more time with the people you love. And that's my advice. Don't take this shit for granted. Tomorrow's not guaranteed.
Very good advice. And again, I know you have your mystery boxes going on, so you know that's on zobieproductions.com or shopzobie.com, right?
Yeah.
So anything you want to plug in real quick?
If you like autographs, if you like collectibles, and you find yourself one night bored and you want to check out the website, you see something, yeah, we appreciate the support. We always try to create products that other collectors will enjoy. I'm always welcome for feedback. You can always reach out to me, jr@zobieproductions.com. I love feedback. I don't take negative feedback as a negative. I take it as how I can improve. And yeah, I mean, if you can follow our Instagram, TikTok, any of our social media, join our community, I'd really appreciate it.
I just gotta ask Jayare before we end it, man. Any Jake Gyllenhaal autographs, man?
This guy, bro, every time, bro, this guy has a man crush on Jake Gyllenhaal. I don't know if you watch our podcast from the beginning, man, but from the very beginning, he's always had a man crush on him, bro.
So
Jake
is
Gyllenhaal.
that your guy crush then, Fred?
That's my guy. That's
100%.
my pass. That's the only person, man. Every guy has one. You can deny it, but every guy has one.
What about you, David? What's your man crush?
You know, I
Where's
don't.
Kevin?
Well, I'm not gonna lie, bro. I'll be transparent, man. I was a huge Jason David Frank person, you know.
Yeah.
And that passing, it hurt me. I was working overnight, covering the shift, and I remember reading it, and I'm like, this is bullshit. This is bullshit, you know. And I was blessed enough, you know, to get the opportunity to meet him and everything, you know, and given everything that happened. But you know, and it wasn't a business thing. Like, yeah, you know, I told a friend, like, hey man, I'm gonna get this pop up, get this thing signed, but just a genuine conversation, the genuine experience, you know, and that's always gonna stick with me. So I was lucky enough and blessed enough to meet the person that I wanted to meet, you know. But you know, me and Jason David Frank making Jake Gyllenhaal, you know, you know, I was lucky enough to be blessed with something a little more realistic for it, you know. But you never know, man. I mean, what we do, we get in contact with a lot of people.
Yeah, no, I mean, Jason David Frank lived in the same city as me. He literally lived 3 miles away from my house, and so I'd always see him. But we also, when I first came to Houston, this is actually something I don't think I've ever mentioned this, but when we launched VShout, Jason David Frank was the first person. At the time, it was called VCon before I launched VShout, and he was on a flight from Manchester back to Houston, and Gilbert sat next to him in first class, and he pitched him. And I remember he FaceTimed me when he landed, and Jason was talking to me, and I was telling him, like, you know, like, this is how it's going to work. And, you know, it's the pandemic, but I don't know how much money I can bring you, but like, it's something if you believe in it. And he's like, man, you guys are from Houston. Like, I have a lot of respect for Gilbert. Like, if you say it's good, he says it's good, let's do it. And he was the first one on VCon and before he went to VShout. And I remember when I first went to his school I can throw a football. That's how close this karate school is. And a matter of fact, my nephew actually goes there. I remember I went to the school, and it was before class was going to start. And he was doing these amazing V-shots for his fans. He loved his fucking fans, like legit. And the days that he was a little down, he was very transparent, you know, and he would be very open to me and Gilbert. And he always welcomed us with his arms open. And, you know, class is going on, so kids are coming in, and he's doing V-shots and stuff. And the Autograph Smash show last July, he did that show. And my wife is a huge Jason David Frank, like, you know, crush when she was a little like younger, right? And so she went. She never wants to meet anybody. She doesn't give a shit, right? Not that she doesn't give a shit, but she knows it's business, right? I told Jason, I was like, hey, when you go in the green room, there's a short woman there. Her name's Jenny. Like, that's my wife. Like, she's a huge fan, man. I remember we walked into the green room, and as soon as he opens the door, he goes, Jenny, where you at? And she's just like shocked, right? And he goes over there and gives her a big hug. He's like, I heard you're a fan, you know, thank you so much. And they have this really beautiful photo that he took with her, selfie. And he literally made me go back to his table and get some 8x10s off the table. And I brought him back, and he signed one for like my daughter and like everybody that was in the green room. He signed one to everybody and signed them and personalized them. And he was such a kind soul that really loved his fans. And I remember I got the call before a lot of people knew that you know what had happened, and I couldn't sleep that night because he was such an advocate for speaking up if you were going through things. And I think that's, you know, to end the podcast on that note, like, mental health is a really, really tough thing, and a lot of people don't really talk about it. And that's why I'm such a big advocate for mental health. This business helps me with being creative and trying to get my mind off of things when it does get dark. But, you know, I feel like we need more positivity. Collecting is supposed to be a distraction of the bullshit you're doing during day to day. And that's what collecting is all about. So, you know, if anybody's ever listening to this or sees this and you're having issues, you know, speak to somebody, because it's very important. You know, life is a precious thing, you know.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, Jay. So, you know, hopefully, Jayare, we can get you on a podcast later on in the future. You know, once your schedule clears up, I appreciate your time. Check out shopzobie.com. You know, you're going to find some cool shit. I mean, I'm going to be completely honest, man. I'm going to be transparent because I got that Ed Sheeran thing. I'm fucking excited as hell. You know?
Awesome.
But said, you know, thank you to everybody, guys. Y'all have a good night. So.
You guys.